Yes, sir. Good morning again. I'd like to bring us out of closed session. Mr. Richardson would like to say something briefly on what we discussed in closed session.
So with respect to the lawsuit that is pending in South Carolina District Court, there are multiple parties involved and numerous lawyers on both sides. I'm happy to report that the plaintiffs in that suit are represented by lawyers, of course, in South Carolina, North Carolina, New York, Washington, D.C., Seattle, Washington, and San Francisco, California, just to name a few. The Southern Environmental Law Center for South Carolina is well represented with their lawyers. North Carolina lawyers have been admitted pro hac vice in the action. Blakely Hildebrand has been my point of contact with respect to that lawsuit. A motion for preliminary injunction was filed around February 20th by the plaintiffs, seeking to prohibit or have an order precluding any implementation of any permits in connection with the seismic testing. The parties had tried to reach an agreement whereby it would be a consent injunction that nothing would be implemented on the permits that are at issue during the lawsuit until the court makes its substantive ruling on the issues of whether or not, just being very general here, whether or not seismic testing can be done. The parties were unable to reach an agreement, which is what prompted the plaintiffs to file their motion for preliminary injunction and their memorandum of law. At this point, the defendants, the federal agencies, what I'll just call the federal agencies and the parties that are trying to get the permits, are now in the process of preparing their responsive memorandas in opposition to the motion for preliminary injunction. I think some of those are due this week, at which point then the plaintiffs get to file their responsive briefs to those. That's a long-winded way of saying I believe that a ruling on the motion for preliminary injunction is unlikely to happen probably inside of 30 days. I'd say it's probably closer to 30 to 60 days at the earliest. And then I've also observed where the town of Oak Island is authorized or has authorized its town attorney to prepare what's called an amicus brief as a friend of the court in support of the lawsuit challenging the ability to do the seismic testing. I've already reached out to the Oak Island attorney, and I have sought direction from counsel, given you the pros and cons of various degrees of involvement, from a simple resolution to an amicus brief to an actual party, and I'm clear on my directions on that. At the end of the day, irrespective of what the town of Sunset Beach does or does not do, but I understand you want to do something, and we will. I'm encouraged by the quality of the legal representation for the pro-environmental groups that are challenging the seismic testing. It is a worthy gathering of very experienced lawyers representing the folks that are opposed to the testing. I'll continue to monitor the case on the court's website and update council if there are any substantive rulings in between now and the next council meeting, while I also work towards the directives you've given me. Any questions?
No. Anybody, John?
I'd like to make a motion. The motion is to direct our attorney, Grady Anderson, to work with other coastal communities to prepare a joint amicus brief with those communities. If the other coastal communities do not join, then authorize our attorney, Grady Anderson, to...
Richardson,
sorry.
that's all right.
How long have you been working for us?
Apparently not long enough.
Yeah. If other coastal communities do not join in, authorize Attorney Grady Richardson to do an amicus brief on behalf of Sunset Beach alone.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the same thing on that item was the mayor's action agenda. We're going to have a discussion. Do we have a motion on that, John?
I move that we join the mayor's action
Do I have a second?
accord.
With no second, there's no vote. A dredging grant request, potential conflict of interest. Rich Serrato.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir. Hold on, Rich, for a second. Yes, Jan?
before we get into that, I would like to review a few things with this project that I think the people in the audience need to hear they're not aware of.
Sure.
And I have just some things to review.
Go ahead, Jan.
Oh, okay. I don't know how much everybody knows about the history of the dredging in Sunset Beach, but we've had the canals maintenance dredged a number of times over the years since they've been built. The last maintenance dredging was in 2002. In 2010, at that time, in 2002, at that time, there existed a statute that was created by David Redwine whereby we assessed the affected property owners if we got 50% plus one approval from those property owners. In 2010, there was an effort by some canal property owners to have the canals dredged, but that effort failed to get the 50% plus one to maintenance dredge those canals. And first of all, let me say, I do believe the canals do need to be maintenance dredged. I want to make that clear to everybody. In 2013, the statute for levying assessments was changed by, I'm not sure if it was Eiler or Rabin. Which one was it, Lisa? Okay, one of them changed the statute and eliminated the 50 plus 1% agreement to dredge, and it now allows the town council to decide and to decide who pays for that dredging. In 2015, the feeder canal was partially dredged and it was paid for by all Sunset Beach taxpayers. In 2016, the council approved hiring Moffitt Nickel to develop a proposal to dredge our areas. And that proposal included Mary's, Turtles, Jinks Creeks, the feeder canal, and the Four Finger Canals are all included in that proposal. Let's see. In June of 2017, the grant that went along with that proposal, the state grant, it's a state grant, not a federal grant, but a state grant, it was set to expire, and we got an extension until 2018. In 2018, the grant expired, but it wasn't caught by anyone, and so we're having to apply for a new grant. In July of 2018, a motion was made and approved unanimously by the council to assess the affected property owners by linear foot for the cost of this dredging project. Right now, where it stands is the application has been resubmitted, and both Moffett Nichols and the town are waiting for approval of that grant. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of let you know how things have occurred. Hopefully you'll have a better understanding of it. So anyway.
Thank you, Jan. I just want to make the public aware, Rich just handed off us some brochure regarding this issue of conflict of interest. I think this is, something that should have been given to the council prior to the meeting so we had a chance to read it and discuss it with our town attorney. Rich, do you want to read this to the people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and this is not a closed session matter. First of all, I would like not to be interrupted or even gavelled. In your meeting packet today, which is public record, on page 4, you will discover the content of a letter from Dr. Cadario to the town of Sunset Beach. Dr. Cadario was the Coastal Infrastructure Projects Manager for the Division of Water Resources. The letter says that they have been made aware of potential conflict of interest. Please provide any information you may have or any potential conflict of interest. The conflict of interest certification of the grant application is now under review. It is very strict with specific language. Agree or not, intentional or not, this town that we represent has been questioned, and it must be addressed. Knowingly or not, we may have created the perception of serious credibility matter. This should require the council not to rely on one person's opinion or even a split vote not to pursue this concern. Pro Tem Mayor Ben and council, in order to avoid even the slightest appearance of the potential of a conflict of interest, I would like to file a motion to have the complete dredging proposal and its genesis investigated by an independent government agency, such as the North Carolina School of Government or the local government commission. Their report should be provided to the Division of Water Resources, the council, and be made available to the public. To me, using an independent, unbiased institution is the most legitimate method to restore our questioned credibility. Anything less, or an argument and another split vote, would create the appearance that we do have something to hide. We owe this to our taxpayers, and especially to our staff, and to the Division of Water Resources, which makes this grant possible. I pray the council will agree. Thank you.
I'd like to say something regarding to the letter that created, sorry, Hiram.
If I just may real quick, just
Go
to
ahead.
explain where we're at this point and what we've already done.
Okay.
What brought us to this point is we were notified that via email or some other form of letter, someone had complained that there was a conflict of interest to the state. We contacted Dr. Cooley, I'm not going to butcher her last name, and they informed us that they would be sending that to their legal team. Then they sent this letter stating that they believe there may be a potential conflict of interest and would like us to respond. We have asked for the documentation that was sent to them declaring what the conflict of interest is, since regardless of the assumptions, no one has actually told us what the conflict of interest is. We have no documentation that brought it up. They have not asked for us to specifically address one fact. So we have made a public records request for all information they have received regarding the dredging project, including the letter that brought us to this point. So before we can even know what to address and have whatever reviewed, we're requesting that information, and they we requested it 2 weeks ago. We've sent them all the minutes that we have on anything, any topic of interest that's been conflict of interest. So they have all that documentation. But at this point, we don't even know what we are to be addressing. They never came out and said, this is what we think is the potential conflict of interest. We'd like you to address it. So we're still waiting for that documentation from them, which they said would be available. Yeah, their general counsel would be submitting to us at some time.
What does sometime mean?
We have no clue.
Would it be reasonable to ask the School of Law to help us with this?
The school government,
Excuse me, School of Government.
I don't know, honestly.
I have a motion before.
Real quick,
we're
Rich,
still
you were able to
discussing.
discuss, I'm going to discuss. The town of Sunset Beach, listen to me very clearly. There's 4 or 5 people in this town trying to stop dredging. For whatever reason, I don't know. There is, like I said in an email to someone the other day, to Dwayne, that there's 2 sides of every story. There are sides against dredging at all. And I don't know why. We've dredged before, and nothing catastrophic happened. You get these people just don't want progress. And these areas that people who bought these homes have a right to have their houses dredged. They bought those homes on canals to get them dredged. We bent over backwards, we narrowed the canals, we've done everything environmentally to do the right thing to dredge properly. And I don't know why certain people, and they know who they are putting a monkey wrench in all this. For what reason, I don't know. But I'm going to ask this council not to vote on this today because we do not have the letter that says what violation we did. And some people in this room are hiding behind those emails. If they want to come up forward and give it to us so that we can analyze it, I would appreciate that. But until that happens, we're not going to vote on this. Thank you.
I just want to say one thing. There is not one person, I think I'm right. There's not one person on this dais that is against dredging. The previously dredged areas, Mr. Corbett, you don't need to chuckle.
Okay, keep it on the subject, please.
I have a motion before the table.
I don't know if this is an appropriate time for me to weigh in, but as a town attorney, I've seen the email from the communication from Dr. Cordero. I've seen the request for the documentation that backs up or has given rise to the concern of a potential conflict of interest. I've not seen a single shred of paper that supports whatever prompted the communication from Dr. Cordero. And there's no way I can weigh in or give any sort of supplemental legal opinion without seeing the full deck of cards of whatever has gotten it to that point. I'm not sure what's taken so long for us to get the backup documentation for me to review from Dr. Cordero's office and the Office of General Counsel. I have no idea if it's something I've ever seen before or whether I haven't seen it before. But until we get that, until I've got an opportunity to review it, I don't know how council can make any informed vote or decision on anything pertaining to Dr. Cordero's communication and whatever council may be seeking by way of some independent, I'm not even sure what you're seeking, Mr. Serrato, but I don't even know how you can get to that point when we don't even know what's prompted this communication from Dr. Cordero.
Well, sometimes there are people who don't know that they don't know, so what do we know?
What's that mean, Rich? There's a motion. Is there a second on it?
Is there a second?
No second.
If I may.
No, I want some clarification, please. I've requested for an independent investigation. Was there a second?
No.
No.
Thank you.
We'll wait for the state to send us the information. Would you like us to get it to Grady at that point?
Yes, please.
All right.
Is everybody in agreement with that? The Grady should get the letter?
Definitely.
Okay, Rich? The letter from Dr. Cordero.
The document.
he wishes.
Okay.
To know, I'm not looking for the work, Mr. Serrato. I'm just asking if council wants me to review.
No objections to that.
Council wants me to review whatever Dr. Cordero's Office of General Counsel sends that prompted that communication. I will do so. Is that council's wish?
Yes, Grady.
I have a question. We also will get a copy of the
Yes.
Of
correspondence.
course. Does council wish for me to be involved on anything else on the agenda today?
Well, I'd like to make a motion to formally authorize our town attorney to get the letter to respond to it.
And a
So we
second?
formally approve this action.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
No objection.
Okay, we'll say favor, not favor. Okay. That's your direction to council, okay? Grady?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else you wish for me to
No, you,
weigh in on today on the agenda?
nope. Okay. Thank you for coming. Tara, it's your turn now. Budget amendment dredging project.
No.
No?
No. Offshore drilling.
I'm sorry. You're next, after this. I thought John voted on
No,
that.
we
That was
have a
another
resolution.
motion. Okay. I see offshore drilling and seismic testing resolution. John Corbett.
Okay. Sunset Beach passed a similar resolution in 2017, and with the imminent awarding of permits to conduct seismic testing, it's time to update our resolution. The consensus in the past has been for the council to support such a resolution. And so my recommendation is going to be that the council approve the attached resolution opposing offshore drilling and seismic testing in our Atlantic Ocean waters off the coast of North Carolina, and disseminate it, that's our resolution, to our state and national legislative representatives, North Carolina coastal communities, and the appropriate federal agencies. Here's the resolution opposing the exploration, seismic testing, and production of petroleum resources off the coast of North Carolina. Whereas the town of Sunset Beach is a coastal community in North Carolina, blessed with the natural beauty of clean beaches, salt and freshwater marshes, sounds and tributaries, and with its largest industry being related to tourism. Whereas many of these natural areas provide habitat, sanctuary, and nesting breeding grounds for diverse groups of migratory birds, turtles, whales, fish, and other forms of wildlife. Whereas the 20 counties that comprise North Carolina's coastal region generate more personal and commercial income, public revenues, and employment opportunities than the petroleum and natural gas industry is estimated to bring to the state. Whereas the Atlantic Ocean has long been spared from the dangerous threats posed by offshore drilling and seismic testing and must retain these important protections. Whereas drilling and seismic testing in the Atlantic would expose marine wildlife and important industries that depend on healthy oceans to unprecedented risk, including potential harm to dolphins, whales from seismic testing, and once drilling begins, from inevitable oil leakage and the potential for disastrous spills. Whereas the inherent risk in our region from offshore oil and natural gas exploration and drilling have the potential to irrevocably harm our unique natural environment, our economic well-being, and our overall quality of life, proven by considering just two massive oil spills in water contiguous to the United States, namely the Exxon Valdez in 1989 and the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico in 2010. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Sunset Beach is opposed to the seismic testing, exploration, and production of petroleum resources on the continental shelf or elsewhere off the coast of North Carolina, and other high-risk ventures that threaten the proven tourism-driven economy of coastal North Carolina. To be signed by the Mayor Pro Tem.
Second?
Second.
Was that a motion?
That was a motion.
I second.
Discussion? Rich?
No. I
All in
think it-
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good job, John. Now Tara.
Tara, this was excellent.
Oh,
Thank you.
You're
It was
welcome.
excellent.
what you have in front of you is a capital project budget ordinance. This is for, the council direction in December after I think it was after the permit was, and this was like extra sediment testing, sediment collection and analysis that council had approved. This is to incorporate that into the capital project. So, do you have any questions
Yeah.
about it?
Tara, I do, because I get, I'm amazed of the different funding methods that government has. I'm not usually used to them. The expenditures, the questions I have, the Fund 44 dredging project expenditures, including the $35,000 for the permit, is around $242,000. The Fund 10 general fund expenditures is $644,000. The total's around $886,000. Here's where I get confused. What are the revenues? If you look at the sheet, it says the revenues are 2.6 million total from two different funds. So I'm just trying to figure, are the revenues the grant?
So in the dredging, in Fund 44,
Yeah.
these are they're two separate budgets.
Okay,
So, because they're in two separate funds.
all right.
So in the dredging project, this is the amount that has been transferred from any other funds,
From
from
other
all,
funds.
wherever,
Okay,
of the whole entire project.
all right, okay.
Like crossing fiscal years. Because it's a capital project, this will cross from the start of the project all the way until
through
the end. It
okay.
doesn't go by fiscal year. That's why that one seems to be larger.
Yeah,
And the expenditures also cross over fiscal years. Now, for general fund, the expenditure, the transfer to other funds, the beginning budget, the 613,700,
Yeah.
that was I believe the sidewalk project, where we had to change the sidewalk project.
yes,
So that's to any other fund, not just,
got it.
okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It is a little tricky.
Is there any other?
Any other questions, Tara? No? Jan? So make a
I
motion.
move we adopt this budget amendment.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Tara.
Thank you. I think I'm next as well.
Yes.
So I have, or you have in front of you, the audit contract for the next fiscal, for the fiscal year that we're in right now, for the next audit, ending June 30th of 2019. From what I had read, we had an agreement with them to use them for about 3 years. This would be the third year as part of that agreement. They did not raise their fees for this year at all, which was also part of the agreement that they had. So it would also be $19,000 for this. And this is just, I need a motion to approve this audit contract if that's what you would
Richard
like to
Johns,
do.
make a motion.
I would like to file a motion to approve the audit contract services with S. Preston Douglas and Associates totaling $19,000 for the fiscal year 19 audit.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tara. Great
Thanks,
job.
Tara. Tara, again, this is beautiful. We'd never seen it
Page
like that
18.
before.
Hear that, Ruth? Page 18. Chief?
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
Chief.
morning.
Still morning, isn't it? Sure is.
Yes.
Before you have a draft ordinance that I'm requesting that you consider this morning for the reduction of several speed limits in Seaside Station here directly behind us. There is one street that I left out erroneously that I'd like to add to this, but I'm asking for a reduction of speed limit on Live Oak, Dogwood, Magnolia, and Station Trail.
And where?
Station Trail.
Oh, I don't know where stage, okay.
It runs.
That's all right.
Is that
Right
the-
next to-
Is that the one you forgot to leave?
That's the one I forgot, Station Trail. That's the one I'd like to have added to this ordinance. Each one of those streets are 35 miles per hour currently. As you probably are aware, every one of these streets are very well populated, residential, and there are folks that are walking, bicycling, there's golf cart traffic, children in the area. The streets are somewhat narrow and similar to other streets of similar design, similarly populated throughout Sunset Beach. The speeds are nowhere near 35 miles per hour. My recommendation is to pass the ordinance, the council would pass the ordinance to reduce the streets on Live Oak, Dogwood, Magnolia, and Station Trail to 25 miles per hour.
Chief, can I ask a couple of questions? I'm not a traffic manager.
Sure.
Park Street is 35 miles an hour.
Correct.
Park Street is less than maybe a quarter of a mile. There's 8 signs that say 35 miles an hour on Little Park Street. 8. Can we reduce Park Street to 25? Because 35 on that street is dangerous. And also, where I live, and I'll recuse myself, East Shoreline Drive is 35 miles an hour. It's a heavily walked area, bikes, and I find really 35 miles an hour in a residential area excessive. Now, I may get a speeding ticket, I don't care. But if you drive 25 miles per hour down those little side streets, it's more than sufficient, because there are many elderly people in this town where there are no sidewalks, walk on the street, use their bikes, stroll their grandchildren, and I just find it too excessive. I mean, I don't mind 175 being 40 and then reduces to 35 or the causeway, that makes sense. But in highly concentrated residential areas, I think it's a concern.
Hey, Rich, can I make a suggestion that we approve these streets here and let your chief look at your concerns and
Yeah,
come back
that's
later
fine.
time?
And one thing that I am going to research is, and bring to the council at some point, would be a recommendation for a town-wide speed limit. What that would do is I can't say for sure that it would eliminate the number of signs that we have to post.
Yeah, because that's atrocious.
But as
It's a
folks
sight.
come into the community, unless otherwise posted, the speed limit would be this.
That's fine.
And,
That's
we can discuss that at a later date. But before you, my recommendation is, as I said before, for Seaside
That's fine.
Station.
We have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to file a motion to reduce the speed limits on, don't go away, Chief, Live Oak Drive, Dogwood Drive, Magnolia Drive, and
Station Trail.
Station Trails.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, chief.
Thank you.
Chief, that's a good, if you could, that would be something really important to look into.
Next item is the discussion of town Sunset Beach Concert Series, page 21. Mr. Corbett?
As a bit of background here, after 7 seasons of the very popular concerts, on March 1st, 2019, that's 3 weeks ago, roughly, the Sunset Beach Concert Committee announced, quote, "Due to dwindling financial support and many other challenges faced by the Sunset Beach concerts, we are unable to continue the Sunset Beach summer concerts," unquote. This is a great loss to Sunset Beach residents and to our visitors. And so, as a number of points that represent my opinion, the concerts are very powerful, popular for both residents and visitors, and they're one of the best programs that we have that promote tourism and marketing in Sunset Beach around here locally. And our accommodation taxes are appropriate to be used for marketing and promoting tourism. The property manager for the property where the concerts are has approved that the concert be held in that same location as was in the 2018 season. The Sunset Beach Concert Committee has said they will provide consulting assistance to the town of Sunset Beach to facilitate the smooth transition of operations for the concert series. Right now, immediate town council approval is needed in order to be able to conduct concerts during the 2019 season. We're already behind the power curve to do that. So pending council approval and availability of bands, which is a big issue, the season would consist of up to 11 concerts running from Wednesday evenings from June 20th through August 28th. The town administrator and appropriate staff, assisted by a number of council members, would manage and administer the concert series. The estimated annual cost of these series would be about $35,000, and that's split $15,000 in one fiscal year and $20,000 in the second fiscal year to cover the season, the concert season crosses. And what it is that the fiscal year crosses 2 concert seasons, and the FY crosses, the fiscal year crosses 2 concert seasons, and the concert season crosses 2 fiscal years, just the way it works, which makes it complicated. And if we do this for this year, we would obviously review how it worked and the effectiveness, and after this season, we would make adjustments as appropriate for the 2020 season. And probably central to all of this is the concert series would be a Town of Sunset Beach function, not belonging to an outside 501c4. So my recommendation to the Town Council, and I make this as a motion, is that we approve taking over the Summer Concert Series program for Sunset Beach, that we provide up to $15,000 for concerts in the current FY18-19 budget. That's this year's budget right now. That we provide $35,000 in the FY19-20 budgets, of which $20,000 would be used to complete the 2019 summer concert season, and the remaining funds, $15,000, would be used to provide startup funds for the 2020 summer concert season. And we direct the town staff to develop and present a plan for administering the concert, and that they begin preparations for the concert season today. That was a mouthful. Thank you for your patience.
I have a question.
Sure.
Gotcha.
Why do you oppose in the future, suppose the Business Guild would like to be responsible for the concerts?
Then they can bring
Obviously, you have an
I mean,
opposition.
then they can bring it to us. But,
Okay,
but
but
they have
your
not
last
done that.
sentence eliminated
Well, it only
something.
states that it'll be a Sunset Beach project function now. If someone down the road wants to approach us, I have no problems looking at that, Jen.
Okay.
But I
And
don't
if-
want to lose it for this
Just
season.
so, I don't
Yeah.
either, but just so we're not eliminating
And if a
that
future council wants to make a change, the future council can make a change.
Okay.
Rich?
Yeah. I was away in March, early March, as you know. When did this emergency come to our attention? How come we weren't informed 4 or 5 months ago?
They announced it on March 1st, 2019 via Facebook.
I don't read Facebook.
Well, I'm telling you, when they announced it, you asked a question. We became aware on
No,
March
no,
1st when
all
it
right,
went
no,
on to
don't-
Facebook.
Yeah, okay. Listen, I'm just trying to find out.
Okay, I answered.
Well, it's not an appropriate answer because they should have sent a letter to the town, a formal letter.
Why it's not a town, it has not been a town function before at this point.
They have been supported financially by the town.
Rich, I agree with you, Rich, but
$1,000s
the
each
bottom
year.
line is it wasn't, and then John and I decided that the concert series is a good thing for the town. I'm just
No
telling you-
one is discussing whether
I'm
the
asking,
concert
telling you what
series-
happened. Once we found out, John and I approached David Stewart, secured the property. John then went to Wilson Sherrill
And Fred Thorne.
and Fred Thorne and asked them for their assistance to help us through this first season. Cindy, we're giving Cinda a new job.
Is Cindy going to be doing that? When was all this discussed?
Right here.
Right now.
Right now.
Right here and right now, but Cindy's already been the volunteer?
No, town staff, but they did approach us when they're making this agenda item to see what was feasible and what was not when we
People,
had to research.
people, I realize I'm a fanatic about open government, but these things were not discussed and decided in open government. They were decided beforehand. Now, I don't have any objections to the concert series. I really don't.
So we're discussing it now, Rich.
Yes, we are. And we're going to take it over as a town function. There is the Old Bridge Society, there is Sunset Vision, there is Business Guild. That's number one. This could be a nice event for the nonprofits to make some money and get exposure. Number two, now we're going to start looking for bands in the end of March. How many bands are we going to attract?
We'll have to find that out once we start looking.
Well, let me give some advice, if I may. The town of Charlotte, the town of Ocean Isle do their concert series. I don't know what bands are available and what bands are not. But instead of trying to reinvent the wheel and to save Cindy some time, I don't know how many bands we're going to get, but I would suggest that she contact those towns for assistance. That might save her from reinventing the wheel. Secondly, this is extremely late. I don't know if we're going to get the number of bands here because of the late notice. That's another issue. And there's another issue I would like to request. And if I need to follow it up in a letter, please let me know, Hiram. I want to see the financial records of the concert series. This town has provided tens of thousands of dollars to this event, and I would like to see the financial records for the past 5 years.
Richard, that's something you could ask Hiram for, but that
I
has,
will
okay.
request it.
But that has nothing to go forward right now. As a council, we need to vote on this, so John and I and Cindy can go forward and look for the bands, see how many bands we can get, and come back to the council, hopefully by email, saying that this is what we've gotten so far.
I have no objection.
So we,
May I
that's
just say a
John.
couple points? One of the things that did happen is that the 501(c) that did sponsor for the last 7 years and organized the money went to 10 nonprofits in this area trying to find one that would sponsor it, and all of them declined the opportunity to do so. I don't know about Sunset Business Guild because I'm not sure if they were actually in existence at the time when this was going on, but we understand that the number of bands could be problematic. That's why we said up to 11 concerts, hopefully starting at the third week of June. If we can't get the bands, then we start later, and there could be less than 11 concerts. That's all depends on how effective we are and what the availability is. But if we know that it's starting very late, there will be some probably unanticipated roadblocks that we run into, hurdles that we'll have to overcome. But it's critical that if we are going to attempt to resurrect the concert series for this summer season, we need to have a consensus and get to work on it right away.
And I agree with that, and we were told at the beginning of the month, so John and I have been working on this ever since. Now this is the first council meeting since we were notified, that's why we're starting it now. So, do I have a second?
Second. Oh, I made
You
the
made the
motion, sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Disposition directives,
No, we have another item, Mr. Mayor, don't we?
No, that got removed.
got removed.
The government
D,
agency.
it got removed.
D got removed.
D got removed.
Oh, it did, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because it's the county schedule, not the municipality
All right.
schedule. It was a clerical error.
Good.
Yes, Jan?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to add to the disposition of directives for the April 1st meeting, the mayoral procedures.
Which one is that?
She's
D?
adding.
I'm
adding
adding it.
Okay.
April 1st?
Yeah, that's.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
that's a good point, Jim, because I'm worried if we only have one mayor applicant, what this council's gonna do. They said they would not interview the process unless there were two candidates.
Any more add-ons?
I have one to add. I'd like to add for our May 6th meeting, a presentation proposal from the nonprofit Sunset Vision on developing a fitness trail for the town.
Okay.
And they will make a proposal to lay out the details, cost, schedule, stuff like that.
Okay. Chief? Alligator, alligator. You ready? No? I have nothing to add. Jan, anything else?
No, that's,
Nothing else?
Is there anything else for the 4-1 meeting?
You're gonna have to pick some of the stuff for the, I mean, there's a whole list of directives, there's around 18 of them.
How about the Oyster Bay road closing easement? Lisa, can we add the Oyster Bay road closing easement? Is that something that's not ready yet? Rich, you want to bring the
Councilman
board
Serrato,
appointment term limits?
didn't you have one that you wanted to add back, Councilman Serrato?
Oh, does that, yes, the recusal matter. Thank you, Lisa.
Causeway Cemetery, we're not ready for that yet.
No, it's still in Grady's hands.
Lisa, are you going to put out another advertisement for the URC?
The
When's that in?
deadline for the ERC applications is March 20th, so on 4/1, I'll be asking for council direction.
Mark, I had an item there, I. have I
Microphone.
numbered
Rich, Rich,
Use the mic.
Mike.
them? I had an an agenda request, I think I sent it regarding doing a questionnaire to find out how many people do own boats.
Is that really necessary, Rich? I mean,
Huh?
What
is that
difference
really
does it make?
necessary? Because we have people coming in from all over the country with their boats. So we don't know how many people actually use boats. We've got people in the county that uses our Orlandian area. We have people who.
Then leave it on the agenda.
Leave it, okay.
Actually, we ought to just cross it off the agenda.
No, leave it on the agenda.
How about the action to remove Jinks Creek? Do you want that on or off?
On.
Anything else, guys?
I need some dates that you want any of this to appear, otherwise it just sits here.
Do you have a specific date you want to talk about these items?
Let it sit there.
Specific date for?
Any of your items?
Specific dates for any of your items to appear on an agenda?
I'll leave that to the mayor.
Mayor 16th at Dog Park.
Say what?
April 16th at Dog Park.
Okay.
I got information on that. I'll finish that up. Anything else? I see there's nothing else. Public comments, please.
Richard Hilderman, 407 37th Street. I'd like to elaborate on two comments Mr. Benton made pertaining to the dredging project. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. He made a statement that only four or five people are opposed to this dredging. This is a pretty strong statement, Mr. Benton. What type of documentation
Please
do
do
you
not
have to
direct
support-
that towards me, all right?
That's a pretty strong statement. What type of documentation do you have to support this? The only survey I'm aware of was done by the SBTA, and 85% of the respondents to that survey were opposed to dredging Jinks Creek. The council was given a copy of this, the previous council was, and three members of this council were part of that council. I believe 85% of the respondents is much more than 4 or 5 people.
You're talking-
Secondly,
I'm not gonna discuss it.
you state two sides of each issue. That is very true. But the problem is, I don't believe this council has discussed the two sides of each issue. I'm going to give you 2 examples. Civil scientists have weighed in of the potential environmental impact that dredging Jinks Creek is going to have on North Jinks Creek in the P&A. At a council meeting, Mr. Corbett asked Mr. Neal if he felt the dredging of Jinks
Mr.
Creek.
Hilderman, you cannot direct anybody.
I'm not directing, I'm just stating a statement. That's not a direct. I didn't ask him a question. I'm stating what happened. Mr. Corbett asked Mr. Neal if dredging of Jinks Creek would have a negative impact on the P&A. Mr. Neal's response was a simple no. No explanation, no justification. Is this discussing both sides of the issue? Another example, the M&N using computer modeling says the dredging of Jinx Creek will not have an increased potential risk of flooding and erosion after storm surges. However, 3 independent scientists using the same computer model but adding different parameters disagree. At a council meeting, the former mayor asked Mr. Neal to explain this discrepancy. Mr. Neal's response was, "I can't." Is this discussing both sides of the issue?
Mr. Neal. Okay, I know.
Neil Gilbert, 1150 Seaborn Way. I want to thank the town council, 2 votes today that will be heard throughout Brunswick County. Unanimous votes, which I'm very pleased with. Can you please convey to Attorney Richardson, thanks for all the work that he did, especially looking into the issue regarding the amicus brief in the Southern Environmental Law Center. Not knowing Mr. Richardson myself, you always have doubts. You're wondering where he's coming from. Maybe his family's employed by the oil industry or something like that. You don't know. Obviously, I find what he has to say to be very good and very non-biased. So please portray my thanks to him. Both resolutions are great, regardless of the personal problems we may have in this town. When people look at Sunset Beach, they're going to look at this town as a town that loves their environment, loves their beaches, loves their ocean. That's why we're here. And you stand up for our beaches once again, so we thank you. Your resolution, Mr. Corbett, was fantastic. I couldn't write it all down. It's very extensive. Is it right in this packet? I will take it. If it's also going to please be posted on the town website, I would love to share that with BEAT and all the other environmental groups, because maybe this will be something that all other towns would like to follow. It's wonderful, it's to the point, and it's definitely a stronger resolution than what you had. So thank you very much for everything that you did today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other people?
Actually, may have to get it online.
Okay. Any other comments? Ruth?
Ruth Reynolds, 703 North Shore Drive. I wasn't here this morning to hear the representative from Waste Industries, but I don't know if anyone brought it to your attention about Main Street. The trash containers are ending up on the sidewalk. I was on the walk the other day, and I think I counted 7 right on the sidewalk. So I don't know if anybody brought that to your attention, but it needs to be some kind of orderly.
You mean when they take the barrels, they put them on the sidewalks?
Yes, and they were on the sidewalk after they were empty as well.
So inconsiderate.
So it needs to be
All right,
some
Rich.
kind of rhyme or reason worked out. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Ruth, I'll
Thank
have
you.
Hiram call
Good point.
Alan and ask that question, make sure they don't leave them on the sidewalks, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Any other comments? I just want to make one comment. We're not dredging North Jinx Creek. This meeting is adjourned.